ready? It's time for another edition of Baking in Your Jammies. Today we're going to be doing something that's really fun and something that people typically don't make very often, and we're going to do popovers. So popovers are something that is a great addition to a lovely meal, and most often my memory of popovers, I think for most people, is that when you are out to a fancy meal, you've gotten popovers, but popovers are really, really easy to make. You just have to be really consistent with your temperature of your ingredients and doing a little bit of prep time and prep work, and they're really, really easy, and the reward is so worth it. So there's only 4 ingredients in popovers. You need 3 eggs, you need 1.5 cups of milk, you need 1.5 cups of flour, and 1.25 teaspoons of salt. That's it. Now, if you don't have a popover pan, you can use a muffin tin. The recipe that I'm using a Martha Stewart recipe because I found that one is the very best. And it makes 6 large popovers. So my popover pan has 6 cups in it. You can use a muffin tin, and if you use a muffin tin that has more than 6 cups in it, just use the outer ring of the muffin cups because temperature, again, is really important, and you want that heat to be circulating in your pan. So you can use a muffin tin. Don't shy away from this recipe if you don't have a popover pan. But a popover pan allows that popover to get really tall, and the popovers get tall from the steam. And so as we whip our ingredients together, we're going to be, whipping in some air, and then that in the oven, then the steam and the heat create that tall, beautiful popover. So the important part here is to have things ready. So the first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 450 degrees. And before you do that, put your racks, if you have more than 2 racks, take one out. And just use a top rack and a bottom rack. So top rack at the very top, bottom rack at the very bottom, and then put an empty cookie sheet on that top rack. That helps keep the heat in, and it helps the top of the popovers from burning. But it also helps kind of distribute that heat evenly in your oven. So oven at 450, and then you want to have your ingredients warm. So you take your eggs and you put them in a bowl, and you put just warm tap water on them. Just submerge them in your bowl. You don't want to cook them, and just warm them up, okay? Because most of us don't remember to take eggs out. So room temperature is okay, but warm is better. So submerge your eggs in warm water and let those heat up. And then I also want to warm my milk. So I've got 1.5 cups of milk that I have just nuked in the microwave for a little over a minute, just until it's warm. You don't want to cook it, so just warm ingredients. Then you also want to prepare your flour. So it's 1.5 cups of flour and 1.25 teaspoons of salt, and don't skimp on the salt. This is one recipe that you do not want to skimp on the salt. They just will be very, very bland if you do that. So have your flour and salt mixture ready to go, and I think that we're set. So I'm going to start by just cracking my eggs. And it's, of course, I get a shell in there. Oh, I get a big shell in there. Use your shell to get your shell out. Oh, come on, you stinker. All right, so 3 eggs, and then it's our 1.5 cups of milk, and then you're going to just use a whisk and whisk these together. Now, some recipes say that you can use a blender or an electric mixer. I concur, and Martha says, and I guess I concur, that a whisk is better. So just whip this together for about a minute until it's frothy. Again, that air bubbles is what's going to make the steam rise those popovers. So excuse the noise while we're doing this. Let's just take a minute just to shout out. Hope everybody's doing okay. We're 2 months into our stay at home with this COVID quarantine stuff, and just thinking about everybody. And I know as we're transitioning back into the reality of the real stuff in our lives, just please continue to be cautious, follow the rules, wear a mask in public. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but just frothy bubbles in there. Alrighty, then I'm just going to add my flour. And you're going to continue to use your whisk and whisk this together until the batter is the consistency of heavy cream. And you don't need to get all of the little lumps out. So you want it mixed pretty well, but don't think that it has to be perfectly smooth. Kind of like a pancake batter. Alrighty, now I have had my pan, I think I forgot to say that. When you're preheating your oven, put your pan in the oven. And you want your pan to be really, really hot and ready to go. So I've had my pan and in my 450 oven for about a half an hour. And then you're gonna take it out and we're gonna spray it with cooking spray. So have that ready to go and be sure to use your UV glove. I'm gonna take that pan out. Alrighty, so piping hot, really hot, because that's been in 450. We're going to spray the pan. And again, if you're using a muffin tin, just spray and prepare the outer cups on your pan. Alrighty, got one more whip here. And we're going to fill these about 2/3 of the way in your pan. You hear it sizzle as you put that in, because it is hot and ready to go. Again, if you have a muffin tin, same thing, just 2/3 of the way, 2/3 to 3/4 of the way fill. So popovers are the American version of Yorkshire pudding. And Yorkshire pudding was traditionally made with the fat from the meat. I'm going to fill these just a little bit fuller. Here I've got a little bit more batter. So similar to that, except we're not using meat fat. Alrighty. So back into the oven now that we're filled, and a second UV glove here, and we're going to put these in at 450 on that bottom rack for about 20 minutes. Alrighty, so now those are going to cook for 20 minutes. Set your timer. Don't forget to set your timer. I am notorious for putting things in the oven and forgetting to set the timer. Made a batch of cookies yesterday, and I'm in the other room thinking, when is that timer going to go off? Those must be about done, and started to smell them. And thank goodness it was before that I was smelling that they were burnt. And they were ready, and I had forgotten to set the timer. So don't forget to set your timer. So timing is important here. So 20 minutes then at 450. Then you're going to not take them out of the oven, but lower the temperature of the oven to 350. And then they're going to cook again for another 20 minutes. Now, if you're using a muffin tin, you're going to lower that time by about 5 minutes, so about 15 minutes. But you want you don't want to keep peeking at them, because you want them to be rising and doing their thing in there. So don't be peeking and opening the oven door, because then they might not rise as much. So 20 minutes, and then you're going to take them out and immediately take them out and put them on a wire rack. Now, some recipes say that you can put a little slit in them to let some of the steam out. I don't ever do that. But you do want to serve these right away. They're the very best when they're right popping hot right out of the oven. And as if you remember ever having popovers in a restaurant, that's how they bring them out in a basket that's right fresh out of the oven, and they're oh so good. Now, what are we going to eat them with? Butter. You're gonna serve some, and plain butter is fine. Butter and jam, or butter and a yummy jelly. I'm going to give you just a couple of quick recipes to supplement that plain butter. So one is honey butter. And honey butter you can make with just a combination of butter and honey. So about, depending on how much you need, half a stick of butter, have it be softened, and a couple of tablespoons of honey, and just whisk that together. You can do that in your mixer till it's just creamy and yummy. Now, to make that extra special, you can make cinnamon honey butter. Think Texas Roadhouse. So for that, you're going to take your butter and you're going to add, depending on how much, and I'll post some recipes too, but for cinnamon honey butter, you're going to take butter, honey, cinnamon, and a little vanilla, and whisk that together. And serve that, and your guests will just be so impressed with that great skill. So when you're making popovers, have your meal ready. This takes some timing. Super, super easy. It couldn't get much easier, but it's all about the timing and the temperatures. So don't be afraid to try it. Serve your guests. They will be wowed with your skills, and you will be amazed at how yummy these are. Sending out love to everybody, and just let me know how you like the popovers. Alrighty, so it's almost time for the big reveal. Just a few seconds left on my timer for my popovers, and I'm just anxious to see what they look like. My oven light is burned out, so I can't even peek in there, and my oven glass window is probably so dirty I can't see in there either. So we'll just wait here for the timer to go off, and I've got my my wire rack here ready to go, and I have made my cinnamon honey butter ready to go, and we'll just wait for that timer. I've got my handy dandy berry jig. Oh, there we go. Here we are. Okay, please rise. Oh, they look beautiful. Oh my goodness. Alrighty, folks, here they are, popovers. Oh, we did it. They're nice and dry on the top, and that pan is hot. So we're just gonna pop these out on our wire rack here, and these are really good. Oh my gosh, look at this one. Alrighty, folks, enjoy.